Billy Napier is doing something different with this year's spring game. And I am almost certain this is the most excited that I have been for a spring game for sure under Coach Napier. Okay. Most excited since he got here. I think this is really cool. Aside from the game being on Saturday for the first time in the Napier era, which, if you have been on this channel very long, you know I am thrilled about this because I despise spring games on Thursday night. There is nothing that you can tell me that convinces me it's a great plan. I'm not a fan. Saturday is where it's at. But Napier is changing up how they split up the teams for the game. Okay, so here is what he said they're doing. This is a quote. What we do is we divide the players up to try to make the game as competitive as possible based off of who is available. And then we allow the veteran players on each team to draft all parts of the organization. So we divide the entire organization in half and we give them a little ownership in terms of, hey, I want this guy to be my OC. I want this guy to be my defensive coordinator. This guy is going to be the assistant head coach, et cetera, et cetera. They pick their strength staff. They pick their every part of the building is broken in half. And then we give the players some, just to make it competitive, some motivation. You either win or you lose. And I think it's healthy and it certainly makes it fun. We'll meet with the veteran players at some point Thursday before practice, Napier said. Then we'll announce the teams post practice, and then they'll have their own Friday prep independent of each other. So we try to simulate a Friday, and then we get them ready for the game. So I think this is the coolest way that I've ever heard a spring game divided. Now, generally in the past, what has happened is there's been team captains picked and kind of like a draft, right? So the players pick the other guys that they want to play with, which is fun, right? And kind of what you do if you play a pickup basketball game or your neighborhood plays kickball or whatever. But that doesn't make it necessarily even, right? Or fair. So if the coaches are going to look at the roster and everybody who's available to play, so they're taking out guys who had surgery or hurt, whatever, and they're looking at the guys that are able to go 100% on Saturday, and they're trying to make the athletes as fair as possible, the two rosters as fair as possible. I think it's so cool to then let the players pick who is coaching them. And listen, let's be honest. Whatever team has Mertz probably has a big advantage, right? You were talking about the returning quarterback for the Florida Gators. The number 2 guy is a true freshman who should still be in high school, right? So there is an advantage with getting Mertz, but you're likely going to give Wilson and Johnson to DJ to balance that out a little bit, right? The coaches know what would be a fair balance, or at least they think they know. And we're going to find out how some of these freshman guys do for the very first time on the big stage. But I think that this lets the players take ownership of the situation. This isn't the coaches drafting them. This is them picking the coaches. I think it's going to make it as competitive as possible on a couple different fronts. I think when the coaches pick the teams purposefully with the intent of being completely balanced, it's really competitive from that aspect of things. But I also think it's going to be kind of competitive from the coaching side of this as well, because if the rosters are in fact even, coaching could be a big difference maker on Saturday. I think that gives them a little bit of skin in the game as well, which I think is just an additional layer of competition and fun for, let's be fair, spring games are sometimes not that exciting, right? Nobody wants to get hurt. They don't want to give away too much. So this is a nice little wrinkle to kind of keep everybody fully engaged. I also love that they're going to announce the teams on Thursday and then do a simulated prep day on Friday, because I think that's one of the things that all of the new guys won't be used to, right? What is it like to run through the prep that happens on Friday, which is some of the most important prep that happens before a game? I love that they're going to be isolated from each other, a little bit of secrecy there, again, fueling that competition. I I think that this is going to make the spring game so much more fun to watch, but also so fun for these players to play in. I can remember back when Urban Meyer was coach, there was a year where the team that lost had to do landscaping all around the stadium. Now, can UF pay to have landscaping? Of course they can, but this was Urban Meyer throwing a little wrinkle in the plan. We're going to make this a little bit more exciting, a little bit more competitive, add a little more skin in the game. And I feel like this is something similar to that. But before we get to my biggest takeaway, I want to thank Meldon Law for their support. Not only do they support my channel, but they support UF athletics as well. And if you're in Gainesville, Ocala, Fort Lauderdale, or Lake City, and you are either in a car, truck, or motorcycle accident, your consultations with Meldon Law are absolutely free. They have been serving the state of Florida since 1971, and they are a proud partner and supporter of all Florida Gator athletics. And we have a baseball giveaway coming up with them soon. So make sure that you are tuned in to their social media and our channel so that you don't miss it. Okay, so what is my biggest takeaway? I alluded to it a little bit, but the biggest takeaway that I have from this is that this holds the staff accountable. One of the things that we have talked about, Coach Napier, and there's been different things said in the media, is that whether or not he holds his coaches to a really high standard. We saw some defensive line coaches leave and go to Texas A&M. We saw our DB's coach shown the door, but there's also some coaches on his staff that he's been accused of being overly loyal to, right? And who knows if that's the case or not. We'll see a little bit more when we get into year 3. This is an awesome way for all of us to get to see what kind of coaches they are. Like I said earlier, if the sides are even, what's the difference maker going to be? It's got to be who's got the better coaches, right? And are we going to get to see some real fire and energy from some of these new guys that were brought in? Who's got Ron Roberts, right? Who has Harris? Who has some of these big names that we've been hearing wonderful things about from the spring? And now we get to see them in action. We are going to get to know who some of the very best coaches on our staff are if these teams really are, in fact, even. So I just think it's a cool message for Coach Napier to send. Not only are the players accountable for the play that they put on the field, but the coaches are accountable for the play that they put on the field. And I honestly think there's a great chance we know more about the coaching staff at the end of this. And that is really fun. I am looking so forward to this spring game. I am going. I can't wait to see many of you there. I can't wait to see Mertz coming off of an injury. I seriously need to know what the new defense looks like. And of course, I want to see all these new young guys on the roster. Coach Napier has done a great job the last couple years stacking this young talent. I can't wait to see these guys in action. And listen, who is the biggest name that we're going to be seeing on Saturday that's new to this roster? DJ Lagway is someone that everyone is going to have their eyes on, including me. Cannot wait to watch him. Mantelpiece of this past signing class. And his spring has been a little up and down. I've got more info on it. If you want to hear about it, you can click right here to check it out.